Just keeping that momentum going a little bit now. Let me finally, review All Up in the Biz. This is a Showtime
Sure.
documentary that was released last Friday. That would be, that would be on the anniversary, the 50th anniversary of hip hop, right? This was a show that I wanted to see on that day, but unfortunately I didn't get the time, and I was supposed to review it last week. But yeah, I'm actually like owning up to it now. So here we are. I'm actually, well, finally gonna review it, right? So it is about the life and times of the late great Marcel Theo Hall, aka Bismarcky, right? For me, well, I should say before I even begin though, I remember bringing up the announcement of his death during basically when I revamped this podcast here from Bears Beats and Bailey to BBB Radio. There was a collaboration that myself and you did where we talked about aliens, right? And I remember, like, well, before we even began to talk about it, yeah, we mentioned the fact that Bismarcky had died, right? That would be
Right.
on Friday, July the 16th, right, of 2021. Like, I just remember that Friday night just getting that news, like, geez, wait, Bismarcky of all people, right? And
Right.
he passed away at age 57, right? So I mean, yeah, I mean, we talked about him then, but I'll just sort of reiterate, pretty much what I said there, right? But yeah, Bismarck, he for me always stood out to me as one of the great golden age hip hop artists, right? I'm not gonna say that he's one of the goats or one of the greatest of all time, right? But in
Right.
terms of his niche, which was taking that sort of traditional, you know, MCing style that was cultivated, so to speak, in the late 70s into like the early 80s, right? Where
Right.
of which you had to like buy bootleg tapes and you just hear like performances and whatnot, right? So I'm taking that sort of MC style now. I'm flipping it now, and I'm just gonna add, this brand of humor to it. So it's very silly, it's very childish and ridiculous, but it's fun, and that's really what he brought to the table, right? Going Off, which is his debut album, is one of my favorite one of my favorite albums, period, right? Regardless of genre, right? Just mainly because of just the diversity that he brought to the table, right? It was fun, it was energetic, but it just had a lot of like bops to it, you know what I mean? Like Nobody Beats the Biz is still one of my all time favorite songs. He had stuff like Picking Boogers, you know what I mean? That was actually like the first track of the album and whatnot. And it was just him just showing off his lyrical skill, or at least his flow, basically, right? While
Right.
yeah, he would just sing about goofy shit and just make it sound like the dopest shit ever. I mean, come on, Picking Boogers, that's what you're gonna devote a whole song to, and somehow he make that song hard. Like if you listen now, it's real hard, right? But for everybody, the one song that pretty much solidify his role in terms of music, right, is Just a Friend, right, from
Right.
1989, right? That is undoubtedly his best track, best song to date. The drums are insane though. Like every time I hear those drums though, I just kind of like screw my face though because it just sounds so hard. You know what I mean? It just sounds so dusty now. You know what I mean? And it's off of like a breakup song now. You know what I mean? But it still knocks to this day though. And of course, the iconic hook. I mean, everybody could sing it. And the beauty about it too, the show addresses it too, is that you don't even have to be the best singer in the world to be able to sing that chorus. It is so catchy, so easy, and you could sing it as off key and as half drunk as you want to, Dre. That's the beauty
Right.
of that hook. And yet there is still that sort of raw emotion to it too. So it's funny and it's cute, but at the same time it's like, nah, this come from a deep place, you know what I mean? But before I jump into the like review itself or of the show itself, just any quick thing you just want to mention about Biz, well, I should say looking at it now, or I should say looking at his legacy now since hip hop has turned 50.
Yeah. No. Again. I just think of him as just goofy guy. I know him as other than Slick. Sorry, not other than Dougie Fresh. I just know him as another beat, probably the most proficient beatboxer in hip hop. Right. In some ways, not as fast or as technically skilled, but different, had a different style and approach. One of the things off the top of my head I remember him is being so strange with his skills and vocals that he almost it sounded like an alien language almost, because there's a scene with him in Men in Black 2, if I remember correctly. So that's the level of skills he has. That's what I think about. And then of course Just a Friend. That's what I know him for the most part. Other than that, yeah, I don't know his like career other than being like probably the second most proficient beatboxer in all of hip hop. Right, second only to Dougie Fresh. Yeah, that's about it. But yeah, he was known really really well loved and just kind of funny and he's one of the celebrities who could just show up and like hey you do a funny beat with him and whatnot. That's about it. Yeah.
Right, right, right. Yeah, so just to jump into the show itself, right? So I would confess I didn't really know anything much about his career, no, to be honest. Even after his well that record though, where that song was a part of, the Biz Never Sleeps. I
Right.
think I did listen to it once though, but I never listened to his follow up, which would be I Need a Haircut, which came out in 1991, right? So I just knew Going Off and Just a Friend. That was really all I knew, right? And I didn't really know much about his career after those albums dropped, right? But thankfully the show did just that, right? So what it does, obviously, because he's not here anymore, it zeroes in on just his loved ones, his family members, friends, companions, during his career and whatnot. And yeah, you just pretty much get this really like diverse look at who Bismarck he was, right? His come up in the rap game, you know what I mean, just basically hustling his way to get like just to get a chance to record songs and whatnot, right? How he was able to perfect his style of beatboxing. And yes, as you mentioned, with the beatboxing and with Doggy Fresh, being like probably the prominent, well, I should say the top prominent MC to really do
Right.
so. Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
moment where he where well Doggy Fresh of course is interviewed, and you talk about how they met for the first time and how
Right.
Biz kind of looked at what Dog was doing, but like Biz was kind of doing his own take on it, right? So he didn't want to
Right.
copy Dog, right? So I like that, right? Um, it also touched on why he kind of chooses to go on this sort of goofy, funny route, right? And it's just mainly because he's not a tough guy, right? I mean, like
Right.
just from young, he this big, well, I don't want to say fat, but he's just this big guy. He doesn't look like he want to hurt anybody and whatnot. But the thing is, like, people tend to underestimate him because they think, oh, he's a goofball and he's ugly. So yeah, I don't want you to rap with us, because you have to remember, like in the early '80s, like every man jack who loved rap wanted to have, or who could rap wanted to have their own rap crew, right? So it's all about, yeah,
Right.
you come and get on the mic now. And like people just didn't want him to come true because they just felt like he just couldn't bring it now. But he had to prove to himself and to everybody else that he could do that, right? So he just chart his own way. I mean, he had to hustle, he had to do everything he had to do, but it was just all about to get his rap career off the ground. And it's a really fascinating look at how he was able to do that, right? Um, Even more fascinating was how he was able to reach out to other up and coming MCs and give them a platform to shine too, right? Whether it's Big Daddy Kane, because that's one thing that I always tend to forget, that he kind of helped put Big Daddy Kane on the map. Same thing with Rakim as
Right.
well. Same thing with Roxanne Shanty, and yes, all three will be interviewed in this show as well. And then it's all that grinding and stuff that he was doing before he even like dropped, well, his first single. That would be Make the Music with Your Mouth, right? And then of course that will lead to like his debut album Going Off, right? So of course, halfway in, they will talk about what the show mentions, how Just a Friend happened, right? And how uh, that's surprising. Yeah, when he played like a demo of it, and when he got to the point of him singing the hook, yeah, people were like cracking up of it. They was like, "Dog,
Yeah.
like
Right.
you really serious about doing this? Like,
Yeah, it's a
you
funny
really
joke
want to
song.
have this?" Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, and he kind of like prescient in that sense of these kind of viral, parody stuff that we so accustomed to now with the internet. But yeah, back in when the song come out 93 or when it
89,
just
89, 89.
yeah 89, right? So even right. So yeah, he is one of those songs that you wouldn't think that would work or exist, and yet when you think about viral parody songs or joke songs, that is like rare. That is the probability of that working. Yes, I kind of at the time that would be like a big bottle of lightning song though. So
Yes,
uh
yes.
yeah,
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah. Well,
Yeah,
nah, you're right. You're right. You're right. Yeah. So, but the man was brave. He was like, "Yo, I really want to do this." So you record the song,
yeah,
put it out. Rest is history, right? I mean, it is a bona fide classic, right? But
yeah,
what
yeah.
they
I mean,
mentioned,
other than what do you call him? Al Yankovic. You know,
Oh, you
you
mean
don't
in
have,
terms of
you don't
that
have,
sort of like comedy rap kind of
right,
thing, right?
right. You know,
Yeah,
just the idea of a parody song, but you have just a goofy ass song. How many people was doing that at the time now? Again, Weird Al, right? That's the only person I was trying to think who was doing that at the time.
that's true.
Um, yeah, and you know, just you could enjoy it funny but ironically at the same time, but it legit is a legit bop at the same time. It is a good balance. Very few people at the time would have been pulling that off. No? Right.
Yes,
Well, yeah.
yeah, agreed, right? So I kind of I was actually like vaguely aware of this, right? But I didn't know that like when his third record came out, I Need a Haircut. This was where Bismarcky himself was sued a lawsuit by a guy by the name of Gilbert O'Sullivan, right? So there's a
Okay.
certain like song that he did like way back in the 70s that was sampled, right? But unfortunately, it wasn't authorized now, you know. So they ended up using that sample in one of Bismarcky's tracks on that album, right? And because of that, well, yeah, you know what I mean? That was when the whole issue of sample clearing became big news, right? And there's a
Right.
great point that this rapper brought up, right? Whereas like, well, believe it or not, Jazzy Jeff of all people brought this up, right? Yeah,
Right.
he's
Right.
interviewed as well. Where they say, well, you know, like yeah, back in the days we were basically doing sampling. That was through breaks, right? That was where we
Right.
would make our break beats and rap over, right? But now because rap become this multi-million,
So big. Yeah.
genre, yeah, every man Jack who realized, oh, you sample my shit, yeah, they want to
Yeah.
get a cut
Well,
now.
it matter. It matter. I mean, if you're getting radio play, you know, come on. I mean, it's only reasonable.
Agreed, agreed.
That's why it's so weird that I find people like this come. You know, well, I mean, it's mostly kids, to be fair, but like, it just be people who just be like, oh, well, hip hop is pulled from blah 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 and blah blah blah. It's like, yeah, that's the genre. That's like a whole chunk of the genre.
It
Like,
is, yeah.
it's a whole aspect of the genre. It's such a weird argument people used to have. And yeah, this is a kind of disingenuous bullshit argument. It's like, you know, where would hip hop be if it wasn't for you know, with Indian cinema or some bullshit like that? It's like, yeah, that's the point. I mean, it depends on if they do something with it, but like, you get the point, right? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, who cares? Whatever.
Exactly, right? But yeah, you know, I mean, it's a real long and complicated thing, though. But I like how they kind of just show that, yeah, it unfortunately it really did hit Biz hard, right? And well, he more or less stepped away from the mic for years. I did not even know that, right?
Right.
Apparently he put out a couple more albums actually. Well, one in 1993 called All Samples Cleared, ha ha ha, right? And then one in 2003 called Weekend Warrior, but none of those albums charted at all, right? So yeah, how the show really you know kind of put how they kind of show Biz at that point was like, yeah, because of that whole BS now with the whole sample thing, he just more or less got disillusioned with rap. So he actually became a DJ, right? I didn't even know that. So he was just doing DJ work for like entertainment, like for entertainment based parties now. So like some big celebrity having some kind of party, yeah, he'll be there and do you know, spin records and whatnot, right? Fun fact, I didn't even know that Nick Cannon was, you know, a guy who still like, you know, carry crates for him. I didn't even know that.
Right.
Right, okay. So when Nick Cannon actually had his own show on Nickelodeon, which believe it or not, I didn't even know the man had a show on Nickelodeon. I know, right?
Yes, he did.
I
I
did. I know.
vaguely remember that he did. Yeah.
I did have cable. Sorry, but I did not know. Dog, like when it came to
Okay.
Nickelodeon, I just knew about all that and Keenan and Kel and Rugrats and other
Right.
like Dog and shit.
No,
I didn't
like
know Nick Cannon had a show.
so after in the 2000s, like after that stuff kind of thing, I kind of wasn't following Nickelodeon. It's only now that some of these stars blowing up. I said, all right, let me see what the 2000s was for people now. For Nickelodeon, and I seen where a lot of these people who blew up in the 2000s come from. But while that stuff was going on, I wasn't aware of it. To be fair,
Right,
it's
right,
only
right.
90s, it's only 90s stuff I was aware of. So
Yeah,
by
yeah.
time 2000 hit, yeah, by time 2000s, I kind of stopped watching Nickelodeon anyway. Like
Me
I was
too.
done too old for it. I was done too old for it then anyway. So whatever.
Yeah, and then well, you know, WB 11 or now called CW came out, right? So that was
Right.
that, and
Right.
of course Cartoon
Yeah.
Network, right? But yeah, I didn't
Right.
know well because I saw Nick Cannon show. I was like, wait, now how you know him? But yeah, well that's how they knew each other, right? Of
Right.
course Will Smith. Well, he was an interview, but of course they showed the clip from from Men in Black 2 and whatnot. And well,
Right. Yeah.
he actually did show up on Will's album Willennium, right? Which he
Right.
put out in '99. A very
As
underrated album from him, by the way. A very underrated
I
album.
think so. I think Millennium is underrated.
Hmm.
No, yeah. The thing with Bismarck, yeah, he didn't do like stuff for cartoons. I swear he did like a voiceover for some characters in cartoons and stuff. I swear.
Um.
I can't trying to remember what he did at the top off the
All
top
right.
of my head.
Well, they didn't show any cartoons during like the latter stage of his career, right? But they did show that he made an appearance in Yo Gabba Gabba, though. I'm like, all right,
Right.
right,
That's what I'm trying to
all right.
remember. Yes, he was. He was. Yeah, he was in that. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's what
and
I'm trying to remember.
and
He
as
do
you
some Chiran stuff.
right, and
Yeah.
as you brought up the internet and parody, right? I thought this was really interesting how they did this, right? All right. So I don't know if you're familiar with this YouTuber. I forget his name, but his avatar is this cat basically, right? But basically he will take like clips from old TV shows or like cartoons or Sesame Street and you put hip hop tracks over it, right? So like
Okay.
he did one
Right.
with Sesame Street and Scenario with A
Biggie.
Tribe Called Quest, right? And he did one with
Okay.
Biggie.
Right. I know
Right,
that.
right.
I
So
know.
they,
Yeah.
right.
Biggie and Barney.
Right, he did that. So they show a
Right.
clip
Okay.
which he did where he did Just a Friend but is with the Muppets. I thought that was like
Right.
real
Okay.
interesting though that they pull from
Yeah.
this YouTuber now, you know what I mean? Because yeah, when it comes
Right.
to those kind of like parody vids, yeah, he's do that real good though. Like he have real time and real footage on the hands, right? But yeah, not but long story short though, you just really see how like the rest of his career played out with the whole appearance in this show and whatnot, right? But then it leads to him actually, well, finally getting married by this. I don't want to say a model, but more like an actress. She actually showed up in actually a good amount of music videos, including like
Right.
a famous Boyz II Men one for "I'll Make Love to You," right, by the name of Tara Hall, right? But they
Right.
actually like married like real late into his life now, so like 2018,
Right.
I believe it was that they got married, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, now I'm not looking it up. Right, so this is what I remember him off the top of. He
Uh,
was in a bunch of cartoons that I know. He was in Adventure Time. He was in Flapjack. He was in Cranky Anchors. If you remember that show.
yes.
Yeah, he was in that. But I try to remember he was in oh gosh, this thing, Jared. SpongeBob. I think he was in SpongeBob.
They said that, but I don't remember the episode that he was in. I should look that
Yeah,
up though.
yeah. I try to remember, right? Yeah, and then Yo Gabba Gabba. That is what I'm trying to remember off the top of him. Because he was somebody made a video about referencing this as a big like bit and how important that was. And yeah, okay, that's kind of interesting. Right. Well, we last week we talked about Meteor Man. Right, using that, and
Yeah,
it's just going through the list.
yeah,
of things.
he was in that too. Yes,
Right. Yeah.
as one of the drug dealers, right? Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but it's not just about like, oh, he was in this and he was in that and whatnot, right? But you really got well, the show actually got us actually touch on a few other things that we didn't even know about. So one instance where he had this sort of disagreement with Marley Mal, this famous producer basically, and
Right.
it's offered just it's like just simple music stuff, right? Like, oh, I did a track and a way to come through and we go finish it up there, but then that guy as in the person who was finishing up the work get the credits and all that kind of stuff, and how come he name show up in the credits but my name will show up and all that kind of stuff. Another thing I didn't even know about this rapper, well, great rapper by the name of Master Ace, actually wanted to do a collab with Biz, right? But what happened is that because of what happened with Marley Mal, he wasn't planning to do that at all. He just scrapped the idea. But Master Ace now ended up putting out the song regardless, but he kind of how it came off is almost like if it like on surface level is almost like if he was mocking him, like making fun of him now, because remember he's not here in person, so he just kind of have to do the beatbox and the voice and all that kind of stuff, so people sort of took it as, oh, you insulting business. So
Right.
what this show does very well, I should actually kind of explain how they set it up, right? At first it sort of took me back, like, okay, why are we doing this, right? So of course, as there's a modern documentary, and by the way, it's from Mass Appeal Records, by the way, right? So it makes sense, right?
Okay.
So
Right,
it's
right,
not
right.
just pure talking heads, right? So they have instances where they'll do like animated bits, right? So like say conversation scenes, like say for example with the whole Doggy Fresh and Biz stuff, right? They have like drawn out caricatures of each person and animated,
Right.
and they're just like, yo, I'm gonna do this, blah blah blah, right? But it's meant to be like the mouth movements is meant to be in time with the interviewee or the clip that's being played in the background, right? So they do that.
Right. Yeah, that's some real hipster cartoon thing. No, Walter.
Yeah. And I mean, animation wise, I mean, I'm not gonna critique it like it's not good at all, but I mean,
Yeah,
it's
whatever.
serviceable. That's what it is, right?
Yeah, they normal, they real hipster. They'll do the sketchy ass animation and that kind of sketchbook kind of thing they just like to do. Oh god. Whatever.
Yes,
Yeah,
it's that.
it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing.
Yeah, it's a whole thing, right? So, right. So, in addition to that, right? So they do this sort of they set this thing up, right, where you see Biz in the hospital, right? But this was actually in the year that he was in the hospital before he died, right? I didn't even know that he was hospitalized for a year. I didn't even know that, right? That's to show how much they kept it. I don't want to say secret, because they had an instance where TMZ had announced that, oh, he's hospitalized and blah blah blah, but
Right.
I didn't even know anything beyond that, right? I didn't even know that he was hospitalized to begin with, right? But anyway, so this is like the let me just say this is the docudrama section of it, right? So it's like the reenactment kind of scene. So it's him hospitalized, right? But what they do, they actually take, well, good thing that you mentioned Crank Yankers, because yeah, they actually had a Crank Yankers style sort of puppet looking like Biz. And the
Right.
first time I see it, right, like this is how the show kind of opens up, right, with him on the hospital bed, and the wife is there, and they have the COVID mask and whatnot, because he was hospitalized from since 2020, right, since when the pandemic started, right. So
Right.
yeah, I just watching this, I like, all right, this I kind of get it and understand what they're trying to say, but this is kind of weird, and it just will always go back to it every 10 minutes or so now after like when they reach a certain chapter of the film, they will always like kind of go back to moments where they're always checking up on him and seeing how he's doing, ask him to to make a fist, to move his arm, stuff like that, right? But it's still that puppet, right? So back to what I was saying with Master Ace, and the whole issue with him doing the song that he wanted to do with Biz, but he wasn't there, so it just kind of came out bad, right? So near the middle of the film, though, they do something really great now. It actually catch me by surprise now, where I want to say it's like a moment of catharsis, right? Where Master Ace literally do this rap, right? And the puppet is next to him. So he's seated, right? But of course they have him moving about as if he real, right? Like if he actually is in the room with Master Ace. And Master Ace is like apologizing to him through rap though. And I was like,
Okay.
wow, that real deep though. Cause yeah,
Okay.
he really say, well, yo, like I was misguided. It was all about the money, but my heart was in the right place. But I should have talked to you, but I understand you was going through your drama, and I shouldn't have put out that song, Trey. But the sad part about it is that Biz is gone now, so he couldn't really tell him that in person. I don't know if he probably didn't. I don't know, but for that, for him to do that, dude, is just it really hit me. It really did hit me, and it's not as corny as you might think. Oh, because he rapping to a puppet. What but it's like genuinely heartfelt though. Like I really felt that, right? Um, and at the end of the day, that is the show in a nutshell. It's a very like heartfelt look at who Biz was, right? Not just
Yeah.
the music, not just the goofiness, and oh, he liked to crack jokes and whatnot, and he knew a lot of yo mama jokes and whatnot. But no, he was like just a genuinely great human being, right? How he was able to open doors for for artists, for many artists, right? How he stuck to his own particular style. He never changed for anyone, right? He never fronted. He never acted as somebody like he not. He never, and a good thing that you bring. I should bring that up too, because like, I don't want to say every rapper goes through that, but usually most, if not all, I should say some, if not all, like golden age artists, right? Usually around the 90s period, where things started to get a lot like edgy and hardcore, right? Yeah, they kind of used to adapt to that, right? So MC Light was one, Queen Latifah was one, but Biz kind of stuck with that now, and I feel like, like many an artist, right? They kind of aware of how the climate is. So it's like, what? I don't think this style of rap could work now, so let me just kind of take a backseat, right? And I actually like that he was able to pivot into something that is along the line of hip hop, right? So that will be DJing, right? So it's not like he just threw in, hang up his mic and say done with hip hop because of some sample issue. No, the man still kept it real, right? It's just, in a different subsection, if you will, of hip hop. And I actually really appreciate that, right? Now, as far as just the documentary itself, like it's your typical documentary. It's not like reinventing the wheel, right? I always see that. I said that last week with Ladies First, right? But yeah, it's like that, right? What I will say though, compared to Ladies First, is that this leans more towards the diehard hip hop fan, right? I really feel like it's more for the people who know about the Rakims and the Big Daddy Keens and who just love to hear the stories of, oh, this is how I met Biz, and I met him in the studio here, and I was in this party here, and I took the L to Harlem, and I met him here, and all that kind of stuff. That is, like I like to hear those music stories, like, oh, this is how I met this guy, and blah blah blah. I like that shit, right? But I know for some people they might just sort of tune out of it and be like, all right, I get it, but I don't know. I don't really know this kind of stuff. So I would say you have to know a good amount of like just this basic stuff, right, about 80s hip hop to really get the full gist of what's going on too, right? Because yeah, they lean a lot into the 80s stuff, right? Which is fine, right? Again, the animated bits sort of like I was a little skeptical about it, but they work for what it is. And also the scene with the puppet as well too kind of caught me by surprise, but that work as well. Actually, there's a great scene, like post credit scene, believe it or not, at the end, where Tara pretty much addresses the audience about what she's doing right now in terms of right, post, right where her life is right now in terms of right after Biz passed away, right? There's the hardships that they have to go through, some people coming for them for money and just all sort of drama in her. But she ends it off by saying, she'll fight with she last breath, or she'll fight till she last day, right? And that also to really really hit me as well, right? But yeah, at the end of the day, this was a solid documentary, man. Again,
Nice.
nothing too groundbreaking or nothing like that though. But I would say it leans more towards the hip hop head, right? And it makes sense because it's from Mass Appeal Records, right? So right? It's them. So for casual viewers, I would say that it would help if you at least check out his work, like maybe his first couple of albums, or at least listen to stuff like what Rakim did or Big Daddy Kane, right? Because it's not like it's right. So basically, it's not for beginners. It's not for people who have no idea about the music and the style and the sound and whatnot. It's for people who have a general sense of how those times were, how the music was, how the sound was, and all that stuff, right? So yeah, to diehard fans, they will really appreciate this. But for everybody else, they might just kind of walk over. It's like, all right, okay, like, I kind of get it, you know what I mean? But the heart is there though, and I really, really, really felt it throughout this show, man. So yeah, if I rate it, I'll give this like 3.5 out of 5, man. I would say that it's worth checking out. It's on Showtime right now.
Right. Nice one.
And I would say it's really really worth checking out. But again, if you are if you're just like a diehard rap fan, you will appreciate this more than the casual viewer, right? But yeah, but at the end of the day though, just to wrap things up though, yeah, Biz is just one of a kind though. This man was just able to carve his own niche in terms of hip hop as well too. The mere fact that there's an R&B song called Just a Friend 2002, right? From Mario, which was a bop back in 2002, and
I
it
remember
still
that. Yeah.
is,
Vaguely remember. Yeah. Yeah.
no, that song was
Yeah.
the shit though. That was when Mario was blowing up, right? Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's I know.
But yeah.
It's the 2000s, bro. It's the 2000s, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's just a testament to how great of a MC and just of a artist, Biz Markie was, right? It's easy to just look at him and say, oh, he's just the clown prince of hip hop, and oh, he's just goofy shit. But no, the man had genuine talent, the man had genuine heart, and yeah, this show is just a testament to everything that he brought to the music world, man. So yeah, again, R.I.P. Biz Markie. I'm glad this show exists, dude. So this is just gonna be, just this testament to everything that he's done in his life. And yeah, again, if you're a fan, if you're a hip hop fan, and especially if you're a Biz Markie fan, yeah, this is definitely worth checking out, man.
Thanks.